You are unique, and the world needs you. Your fully embodied creative expression and vibrant self. Understanding your strengths, vulnerabilities, and meeting your needs is the key to a healthy, thriving life. Hello, and welcome to Life in Form with Dr. Amy Chadwick.
Welcome to Life in Form. I am Dr. Amy, and I am delighted to be here again with Christine Vecchio. We have been able to chat and brainstorm since the last podcast episode we did, and I'm just actually incredibly grateful because Christine brings this joy and excitement about this process, even when I am beginning to feel like it's a requirement or, that this is something that I have to do every week. And of course, that's not the case. It is a natural expression for me to want to be bringing these podcasts to life. And sometimes we need other people to remind us of those natural expressions or that joy. And so that is one of the gifts that Christine is bringing, as well as just our the incredible gift of being able to have beautiful conversations. And I was listening to somebody today talk about the skill of conversation in being able to each share from a place of each one questioning, asking what is true for you, asking what you're feeling, asking the questions, more than just simply engaging in sort of dual monologues, which we do so often in social media or in other types of conversations. And so this gift of being able to bounce intellectual ideas and thoughts and processes off of each other is what we're going to keep bringing probably with this and other episodes as we move forward. So I welcome you. So happy to have Christine here. And today we are talking about feelings and needs. I have been very aware in the last, probably several years, but it's come up very strongly in the last few months, working with patients, talking to friends, working with myself, of how I think that many of us did not learn very well as children to identify what our feelings are and to identify what our needs are. And this is, I believe, the kind of foundational key element to then being able to be a skillful human being and thrive, because we are each in our unique forms and we each have our unique needs. And when we can honor what we're feeling, recognize it, embody it, be with it, and ask what we need, it not only gives us that information to meet our needs, but it also gives us this capacity to interact with others in a way that is truly skillful and beautiful, rather than, potentially manipulative or just misinformed. If we can't really communicate what we need, it's almost impossible to expect somebody else to meet that need.
Right.
So, welcome, Christine.
Thank you very much. I'm excited because when you first proposed this topic, I thought, well, this is an area that I've had to spend or have spent my whole life exploring, and I think more than anything else, learning what needs are, how they resonate in my body or self, and really how the feeling and need part, I'm so glad you're putting that together today, because I'm finding I grew up not knowing what a need was. No, seriously, it wasn't until I was in my 20s doing one of those, team building exercises. And we were blindfolded. One of the things was to be blindfolded and walk a beam. And we said, you can say whatever you need. So if you need your other team members to come, so you can put out your hand, or they extend their hand to you so you can keep your balance and walk. And I went, okay, fine. So I put the blindfold on and I'm walking and I have this voice come in my head is like, wait a minute, I'm going to lose my balance. And then it was like, boom, what do you need? Okay? And that was the first time I got conscious of, oh my gosh, I have a need. Yes, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to say it. I need help. Somebody come over, help me out here, okay, to keep my balance. And when that happened, it was like this, oh my goodness, all those feelings I had in me as a kid growing up and stuff, there were needs there. I didn't know there were needs. I knew what feelings were, but now there was an opportunity to identify a need, and also it's okay to have a need.
Yes.
And in that case, to ask for help real quick,
Yes.
otherwise I would have fallen off.
Right. Right.
So, and then the feeling that was associated with was relief and like, oh my gosh, I've been holding back on all these things. Oh, maybe I can just start coming out and being aware of them for myself first.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, that was a mind-blowing experience for me.
Yeah.
And so then on, it's been this kind of thing where I have found myself asking, okay, I'm feeling this way. If I'm not comfortable or happy or whatever, am I missing something? And then inevitably it's, okay, I ask, what do I need?
Mm-hmm.
See, and then there comes the verbalization or articulation of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because I was brought up that it was okay to express yourself, your feelings, but not to, I would say, express or recognize what a need is, because times were tough for us, okay? And so it was always like, you just keep going. You help each other out to survive, the community, all that other kind of stuff. So that became more of like a community need or a family need, but not an individual one. So it wasn't until I got older then this awareness starts coming into, you know. So.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for you, but something else was popping up as you were talking too, that, you know, one of my teachers, Christopher Wallace, is a spiritual teacher, but when he talks about relating and relationship from this spiritual perspective, you know, one of the things he says is that we fundamentally are the only ones responsible for meeting our own needs. And in that responsibility, we do ask for help. Yeah. And so there is that dance of the responsibility is in getting to know ourselves and our needs, and the responsibility both to look at, can I meet my need, and how do I need help, or where is that help? And that when we approach each other from that space, there's also a trust that people who love us generally do want to help us meet our needs.
Exactly.
And I think that's the thing that comes in a community, is that oftentimes the community dynamic does beautifully do that. You know, in the needs of the community, the individual needs also are met. And I think it is still a really, it's an invitation, I think, to be just these incredibly skillful humans, to not assume that the community needs get met at the expense of the individual. That we actually can train even the smallest humans within our communities to question and get to know and express their needs, and that it is okay to express those, because meeting those fundamental needs of even the most vulnerable in our communities will aid the community as a whole.
Right. It's interesting, you know, to me, because growing up the way I did in Hawaii on a sugar plantation, and we were part of the Japanese community. There were different communities. And as you were speaking right now, I realized that a lot was not verbalized or said, because as you were saying and describing and articulating, you can meet the individual needs within the community needs, and that I realized there was not a lot of conversation going on. However, there was, what do I want to say? I think the term they use now, nonverbal. You walk and you see people, and I think a lot of our communication was done on that kind of a nonverbal level. And you watch as kids, you watch and see the example, and you pick up on the kind of energetic feeling of how that feels. People feel happy, or we felt like a group, or someone's not happy here, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the thing that plays in, is looking also at the cultural aspect of how needs get defined, whether you can articulate them or not, whether it's okay to feel the need or have needs or not, And I think that's when all of us, when we come together, like you and I, then we have that opportunity to share and relate and communicate. As long as we each keep open to what is the human being right in front of us. Because what happened just then was that as you articulated what it is to express a need and the feeling, and it's okay and everything else, that freed me up to become aware of, wait a minute, we never talked about that. But our needs got met.
Right.
In a way that we didn't have the language as far as the verbal capacity.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So much, I think, gets communicated in ways that we don't know that they're being communicated. And I realized I picked up a lot of, put yourself first, okay? So that kind of stood in a way, or sometimes got tricky for me to tune into what I needed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of the movement from, childhood in community into adulthood, where as children, we naturally feel all of the emotions. Yeah. We may or may not learn to put language into them, but we feel them, usually when we're really young, without even any judgment about them. They just are the feelings that we experience. And then based on our culture and our programming, or, one of the terms I like, our domestication, we start to put judgments on those emotions. And we also put judgments on our needs. And we begin to develop these stories about whether it's okay to meet our needs, or whether meeting other people's needs is something that serves our own ego or makes us better humans, or those other pieces. And so we each have different programs around that. And so this is why something that's so just fundamental to being human, having a need and having an emotion that tells us that we have a need, or that we had a need met, that's really the simple just gist of what it is to move through the world as a human. But it gets more complicated because of all of these layers of domestication that occur depending on our culture and history and family structure and dynamic. And so it's as adults that we get this invitation to, I think of it as reparenting ourselves, where we get to treat ourselves, take ourselves as that child and really relearn. And that's where I want to play a little bit with this, because with a child, we might start giving them pictures or words to help them put a framework to what they're feeling.
Right.
And I think it's important as adults for us to do this over again and to really play with, like, what is an emotion? What is a feeling? And where does that take us? So that's my first question for you. And you asked me this right before we started. Like, what is the definition of a feeling?
Yeah. let's see. Well, I think for me, it covers the whole thing. um, no, how can I do? Okay, so when the topic was first proposed, feeling, I went, oh, okay, she means like happy, sad, uh, uncomfortable, that kind of thing. And then the more I thought about it, I went, oh, wait a minute. Does she mean not only the emotive feelings, but also the sensorial feelings, like in the body? Does she also mean intuitive feelings, or like how some people will go, oh, I have a feeling that something, something, something. Okay. And what I discovered was, first of all, when I recognize that I am feeling something, okay, and I don't know what it is, the first thing I do is, where is it in my body?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that really helps me in terms of grounding and just knowing my different body parts, what kinds of emotive feelings kick in at certain places. And so then once I locate, say, a feeling in my body, it's interesting what happens, because it's the simultaneous thing of accepting that I'm feeling something, yeah. And in the acceptance of that, it allows for the expression of the feeling sensorially through the emotion, through the senses. And also I find uh, there's a capacity, I think, to what I call track the feeling to what's the source.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that coming from? And usually, a lot of times, we get stopped, or we stop ourselves only at a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
rather than going the full, I would say, the full continuum. So what I've learned, and this has come through training in a spiritual context, all right, in the sense that the series you're doing right now, Life in Form, okay, I think the topic we're focusing on right now is really apropos, because it is life in form, life expressing through feelings in this case, and through the needs.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was a freeing experience to realize that feeling and need, they all play a part of expression in the life form of a human being. Okay.
Yes.
So if you deny a feeling, you deny a need, I discovered I shut off the accessibility or the play of the soul, or that spiritual aspect of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the fun parts then starts happening is identifying what I'm feeling, okay, and then asking, okay, what else?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
what else? And then it gets really fun.
I love that.
Okay,
I love the what else.
what else? Because the intent is to discover, oh, what is kicking in, putting this feeling into motion?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
someone else could be presented a certain stimulus, okay, and not have the same feeling reaction as I do. So,
Yes.
as you said, each of us, okay, unique to our own expression, and also I think why we are here, our purpose, okay, it really behooves us then to have fun and be joyful with the fact, oh, I am feeling this.
Yes.
And really allow ourselves to experience it.
Yes.
For me, that's a key, because sometimes what I'll do, Amy, is I find myself very quickly, oh yeah, oh God, oof, that's sad. I feel sad. And then immediately ask, why am I feeling, and then go through an analysis of it. No, 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 no. The fun part is experiencing it, taking it to its full, as full as you can in that particular moment. And then you ask, where is this coming from? What else?
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens is there is silence. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's silence. And almost like facing nothing, a blank slate. And then what happens is I will start feeling a need. I need something. Okay, all right. But then do the same thing with the need.
Yes.
Take it to its as much as you can go in whatever dimension you want to. Your senses, the body, okay, and words. If you go, oh yeah, I need this and this, and then be open to, but what's pushing on that need? What is it that, see? And so then it becomes an unveiling, and more often times than not, I have experienced like, oh, that's me, trying to get the attention, and saying, pay attention to this and come through this way. And sometimes it goes very smoothly, and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it's a matter of staying with what the experience is.
Yes.
Because we have, I would say, chosen and selected, to kind of go, okay, we'll play in this particular band of human expression. Yeah. And sometimes what helps is, and you've known this because I've reached out to you. Sometimes it takes being in front of another human being, as you said, who is with you. With you, so that this unfolding and unveiling can happen. And in that unconditional or loving relationship, I feel then free to really go with it. If I need to yell or scream or cry, whatever the modality is, I know I'm going to come through somehow. And I don't know what that will be. I don't know what that will be.
Yeah.
So I'm just really glad that you chose this feeling need, because for me, it's, once again, a continuum of expression for who we are. So.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's, as you're talking, I'm thinking of a couple of really kind of key elements around this that you are doing naturally as you're speaking about this. And I think I just want to give them words because I want to help this be as tangible for people as possible. Because what I know is that in modern Western society anyway, there's especially in California, there's a lot of conversation around this. This is not foreign, I'm sure, to anybody listening today, of this idea of being with your feelings, or even taking your feeling in and feeling it in your body. Maybe it's new to you and maybe it's not, but it also, there are some very key elements to this that I think are really crucial in the process. So I have been doing a lot of work over the last year or so with the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And, that, if you're not familiar with the Four Agreements, it's based on Toltec tradition, and Toltec is the way of the artist. And this is really, for me, what it is to be the artist of my own life. What it is to be the artist of the way that I show up, the way that this form moves through the world, and the way that I get to interact with that form. And the more I work with this, the more I see these four really fundamental truths showing up in each thing that we do. So even this concept of, okay, I am feeling something. I am feeling agitated. I am feeling sad. I am feeling joyful. I am feeling at ease, whatever that is. And this definitely doesn't need to be a practice that we only do with the hard emotions. In fact, when we're learning something new, I actually highly recommend starting with the easy things. We don't start anything with the most complicated task. We learn with the baby steps, and then we move into the harder. So with our emotions, start playing with noticing, oh, I feel calm, or I feel happy. And where do I feel that in my body? And what is underlying that? And what what need was met for me to feel that way. So we get to play with the easy and then move into the things that are maybe more challenging and have more story attached to them. But there's also this really important concept in it as we're doing that exercise of not taking it personally.
Exactly.
So we are not fundamentally our emotions, and we're not fundamentally our thoughts. So this idea that we truly can step back in this process and be a witness to the emotion that is there and even the thoughts that are being formed around it, and know that we don't have to take any of those personally. We are not sadness itself, and we are not happiness itself. We are this being in this form that in a beautiful way has the ability to feel all of these things. And they each are, to me, they are the texture of our world in the same way that color and light and sound, a beautiful piece of music is as much to my sensory being as my emotions are that dance as well.
Right.
And so we get to experience them, but this is this really, and this is not necessarily easy. It's easy to say don't take it personally, but to really truly embody that idea of this, whatever it is that I'm feeling right now, it is a feeling, and I'm not taking it personally. And then I'm not making any assumptions about it.
Very good.
I'm just getting curious. I'm just watching with this incredible wonder. And from that place, then there is just a myriad of information that may come forward for our being. And yes, it may be, that information may be the stillness, there isn't anything, that's okay. We don't have to create a story. We don't have to have some big, intense experience with everything that is going on. It is allowed for it to just simply be. I know for myself, last week, I was able to share with a friend that I was feeling sadness, but it was very interesting to be able to sit with it and know that it definitely was not overwhelming. It was like, in fact, the analogy I used with her, I'm just remembering, was it was like waking up and seeing that it's a cloudy day. And okay, it's a cloudy day. And that not every day is going to be cloudy. And it wasn't even personal to me. This particular sadness wasn't necessarily, it may have triggered on some things of my own, but it really was truly just like that. It was like, it was no more personal than a cloudy day is, and yet it was palpable. And so being able to feel that and still say, okay, I'm feeling this today, and what is that informing me? What do I need? And, similarly, I think to a cloudy day, my needs are different on a cloudy day than a sunny day. And honoring that dynamic. And the day that it cleared was very similar to that idea. It was like I woke up that morning and the sun was shining. And it was that feeling of like, oh, this is a different energy today. And not taking any of it, not getting really caught up in it, not getting really, I didn't need to analyze it. I didn't need to figure it out. It was. And so sometimes we can just be with the feelings.
Exactly. Yeah. I think one thing you said also, not take it personally. Another, I think the usual thing is like, oh, don't get hurt,
Right.
Don't take offense.
Right.
But how you express it, though, to me seems to be more things that I experience, which is there is an aspect of myself that can observe, okay? And simultaneously experience whatever it is I'm feeling.
Yes.
It's an interesting kind of thing. And I think the tendency is like, I want to use the word own, like this is my feeling. It's I'm the only one who feels this, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, what I have discovered is I've heard from many other people, they have felt this too. Okay? And so this thing about ownership, as far as it belongs to me and only me, no. This is playing out everywhere, okay? Everywhere. And so for me, the fun thing that I discovered was when I've gotten into places where, oh yeah, it's just me, or I'm alone in this, or whatever. Then something goes, no, you're not. Okay? This is something that's happening in the world. Boom, release. Release in the sense of a wider, bigger perspective, and then accessibility to discover what's playing in the feeling, with the feeling, okay? And so it becomes this thing of like, oh yeah, I am not the only one. And it is not just me personally, you know?
Right.
And so you don't make those assumptions that one normally would, okay? If you get into this ownership, holding on, only me thing. So that's the other discovery.
Yeah. And it's, there's always these interesting nuances to this, because at the same time as it isn't only me, it is us having the experience at that moment. And there is a deep importance in honoring that experience. But in a similar way, again, and I think this is the curious thing about this sense of feelings, having so many different definitions. Yeah. It is true, our feelings are also the way our senses receive things. And so we can use that as an example. Like if I reach toward a hot pan and feel that it is hot, I will generally move my hand away. There is there's feedback, the heat is feedback that sends a message to my body to move away from that in order to protect myself. And there also are feelings and sensations that my personal being likes and doesn't like. Like we are allowed to have preferences. We are allowed to have things that we would not want to spend a lot of time around and that we might be more drawn to. And this definitely exists with our different emotional spheres as well. I mean, I think we all have emotions that we would rather not feel. And we have some that we tend to really want to feel more. And that is all okay within this sphere. But similarly to the heat, they are that feedback within our own being, no matter whether it is something that, because sometimes another mode I think we can have when we're having especially an uncomfortable feeling is to, and I think this is a program that gets established at some point in our life, but instead of really going through this process of asking, where am I feeling this? What is this? What is the need that I have? We can sometimes very quickly be like, oh, but other people are feeling it worse, or there's so much else going on in the world. And while there is an importance to having that awareness of the universality of emotion, there's also that importance of recognizing that even though it is not personal, it is not the universe cursing us with this emotion, it is a feedback response.
Right. Yeah. And what came to mind is a specific feedback in this particular situation.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That's the thing. That's for me the key.
Yeah. And so then that's that invitation. All right, here's the feedback.
Right.
And now what do I do? What do I do with that? It doesn't mean I do not know why this analogy came to mind earlier today, but that idea of preference, I may have a preference to be in a field of flowers and spend a lot of time there. And I have a dislike of, being near dog poop. Like they're not, these are two, it's a like and a dislike. And yet they both are what is. They both exist within the realm of space. But it's true. I'm going to move away from something that doesn't smell good. But I can do that without being in argument with the fact that it exists.
There you go.
I don't need to create an energy of being against or anti something that I don't like.
Yeah.
I get to simply experience, oh, okay, that's a smell. And I'm going to choose again my working with that. And I think that's this place of emotion is it is okay to really not like some of the things that we feel at different times. But to be very careful about what we do with that when we don't like it. That there, you know, if that dog poop is in my own yard, there is a responsibility for me to still pick it up. Not to toss it in the neighbors. So it's, you know, this is a horrible analogy, but it is that concept of like, it is in my yard. It is in my emotions. It is in my sphere. And so let it be something that informs you.
Yeah.
Because I do find that the uncomfortable emotions are usually communicating an unmet need. And then we get to tap in and figure out what that is. Because at that level, we're not going to, the emotions may change. We may do all kinds of things with them. But fundamentally, like, again, just like the hot pan, we're going to be more skillful if we actually have the appropriate response by meeting the need than if we simply find some other strategy for trying to manage that emotion.
That's interesting. Just as you were saying that, it struck me again that with my upbringing, our needs were met because people were tuned into each other. Okay. And we didn't have to ask, actually, you know. So there's a certain way of being with another human being in a whole community like that. A whole culture is like that. And I know what I did was I assumed that was the case, you know. That people are tuned into each other and we take care of each other. Okay.
I think that's the desire a lot of us have.
Well, I know, it is. Okay. But I got to experience it.
Yeah.
Then when I came to California for grad school and stuff, which was like a big culture shock, much to my surprise, I saw that my way of meeting people's needs without having to verbalize and things like, you're like, oh, do you need, a lot of people were taken aback by that. Okay. I had to learn that, oh, wait a minute. Okay. So for some people, that's like kind of being boundary crossing, or stepping into an area, or what do you want? But what that did to me, thanks to a friend, helped me realize, oh, no, it's just different way of communicating, relating to people. And then I got aware that because I wasn't verbalizing what I needed, okay, I didn't think I needed to, because I was so used to the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
So once again, it took me this education process of identifying a need, okay to feel that, and then, you know, go from there. And many times I've missed what I call that kind of Hawaii being with each other. And also had tapped into like, well, yeah, how come my need isn't being met? Okay. And it's when my relatives come over to visit, it's like you get tuned in again. And little things, Amy, like someone helping you put your sweater on, or getting something for you even before you asked for it, because they're watching and they are aware. So then though it becomes, as you said, this education of tapping it, listening, and expressing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And from what your teacher was saying of, yeah, we are responsible for getting our needs met. Okay.
Yeah.
There are just different methodologies or ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a beautiful familiarity that forms with, in community, with the people that you love, with the people who get to know you, that should not be discounted. Like there are those little ways that we see each other and yes, help meet needs without having to verbalize it. And at the same time, what I'm finding is a great importance in not ever creating the assumptions that we do know what somebody else is feeling or needs. Exactly. So while, yes, we may see, oh, they're reaching behind themselves to put on a sweater, I can help them, when we have that familiarity, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and it's beautiful. And the constant awareness that we truly don't know. We don't know about anybody else's internal state or needs without getting curious and asking. And so even in our longest term relationships, where we've gotten this idea that we know each other so well that we don't have to talk anymore, I would say first, practice really getting to know you, because I would guess that often when we do this, we're surprised at how little we know ourselves and where our emotions sit in our body and what our needs are. And then stay curious about the people around us. It's around this idea of really staying curious with ourselves, even staying flexible. Like things are allowed to change. Exactly. We're going to feel things in our bodies in a different way. We're going, even there are books and there are people who speak who talk about, where different emotions reside in different parts of the body, sort of like there's a map to it. And to some degree, there may be some map to that. And at the same time, this idea that we are these unique beings and forms means the invitation is to really do that with ourselves, to let ourselves feel, because there is going to be differences and nuances and different invitations in that for every one of us.
I think what I'm also struck by is, I think each of us, given our histories, or like you said, what's the D word for you? Again, not acculturation.
Domestication. Yes.
Shows you where my head is. Not me. I'm not.
I know, it's really hard to look at ourselves as domesticated, but
is that we somehow pick up messages that it's either not good to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you do, don't let it get the best of you, or overwhelm you, or let your mind override, or somehow you override your feelings. Okay.
Yes.
And be strong. I see that a lot, sometimes less so nowadays, thank goodness, especially for guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just so important, no matter what our gender is, as a human being, to accept what we feel, accept what we need. Yeah. And as you said, don't take it personally and make no assumptions about them. If we can be just living in the feelings or with the feelings and the need, it always surprises me how much truth then is in that experiencing, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I, when that happens to me, it feels like that's what is, and that is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't not even just this, oh, that's fine. It's like, it's what is.
It,
Oh, okay. So you experience that, and then it's like whatever question I may have about, well, what do I do next? Or is there something to do? Those fall away. And I find myself very naturally then being able to take an action, call somebody, not do, and all the myriad of possibilities of um, expression and action. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
But the key
Mm-hmm.
thing, as you said, is being where we are, who we are, whatever the experience is right now.
Yes. Yes. And in that right now, this is where, and I really want to make sure we touch on this, is
Mhm.
this idea that our needs are, again, they are personal, they are internal. Um, I think many times, especially if we've not allowed this process to sink in, that we experience, oh, well, I'm feeling something, therefore I have a need. If there's just that quick response,
Yeah.
oftentimes what comes out is a phrase like, well, I need her to
Yeah.
whatever, fill in the blank, I need him to communicate more. I need her to be honest. And the, I mean, just bluntly, like that's not your need. That is a projection of a way that you think your need will be met.
Right. Bingo.
And that is a really key element to this process. And so on the one side, we get to know our feelings. And I would say play with this. I was just reading something that was talking about how to teach children,
Yeah.
the languaging and things around their feelings. And it was talking about drawing them out or
Yeah.
giving them a name or acting them out or singing them out or asking the emotion questions like, what do you need, sadness? And how would you feel like you belong? And what is your color? And what is your texture? And who are you? Get to know the emotions in these creative ways. Feel where they are in the body. And then feel into what is the need. And I find that it's useful to begin developing a language around what our needs truly are. Because, again, I think this becomes distorted sometimes in terms of the need for safety or security or community or connection or rest or any of those things often gets sort of projected out at some more surface layer that is very difficult to meet and doesn't actually end up being satisfying to us. So the way that we're going to meet our needs is to really understand what that need is in the first place. And human beings are needy. That's just the reality. For whatever reason in Western culture, we're sort of taught to not be needy, but human beings are needy. We're in the spectrum of animals and things on the planet. We're pretty fragile. We require many, many years under parents in order to mature. And we have vulnerable bodies and we have to wear clothing and we have to, make our food and cook it. And there's all of these dynamics. And so that's okay. Like, honor that we are needy beings and that each of those needs also are met by life. So there is a trust that like there is this interplay. Life is there and is meeting our needs. And the closer we get to knowing what those are and where they reside in us and what it feels like when one of those needs is unmet is a really profound exercise in then being able to say, okay, this is how I meet it. This is how I express to somebody else. the dramatic difference between saying to somebody we love, I need you to do this, versus I need to feel seen.
Correct. Exactly.
Or I need comfort. Is a profound difference. Like that becomes this invitation that the people who love us want to step in and serve in that way. Whereas sometimes the I need you to do triggers off their own spaces, and then we just end up in a defensive argument where nobody's needs are met.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I've heard this from other people. It's like, and I know for myself, during this pandemic, a lot of things that I thought I needed, okay, but also, I didn't need them, but then also brought into focus what I do genuinely need. To be alive. And it's interesting making a list of that. Really, and then seeing how it gets expressed. And it's like discovering, just as you said, the number one, the need is not out there, okay? And it's not from out there that we will get our need met.
Right.
If I can say, I need comfort right now, okay? I need to feel relaxed and kind of just, I want to stroke my heart, kind of thing, okay? And to be able to be present with that. I know sometimes it's painful, but you know what? I discovered, and other people have too, is that they've discovered that they are more able than they thought to meet, number one, meet that need.
Yes.
Okay? And know when they needed something from other human beings.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So there's that kind of perspective that comes, a kind of authenticity, and genuine, I think, relating to other people.
Yeah. I heard a phrase the other day that has been kind of bouncing around in my head ever since, of our thoughts do not have needs.
I agree with that.
I do too. The more, I had to sit with it for a minute, and it was like, oh, right. But how often do we communicate to each other from the place, or to ourselves, from the place of the assumption that the thought that has been formed, the mental construct that has been formed, the mind, not our brain itself certainly has nutritional needs, etc. But this concept of mind, it doesn't have needs. It is a beautiful tool for helping us to meet our needs. And that is a profound shift in the job that we give it to do. It's like, if we can truly see, the mind is a creative, expansive, able to see options, able to be flexible. It is one of the tools for helping us both meet our needs and communicate to others ways that they can help us meet our needs. But the mind itself does not have needs. And I think that is just it's something to sit with. I invite you to play with it. And if you've got comments for me on it or thoughts, I would actually love to hear them, because it's been something that I think is really profound, and like, wait a minute, drop back in. And even, I would say, the emotional body doesn't have needs really either. The emotions, again, are an experience that points us to the needs. Because the needs are much more fundamental to our physical structure and to our capacity to express our soul being.
Exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth.
I think I heard you.
Okay. All right. I tried to not say anything. Spilled out. No, and then once again, to me, that underscores the fact, what you said way earlier, we are not our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we are not. There is us who are inhabiting this form, this body, everything else, and we use that.
Yeah.
We use our thoughts. We use these. I call them vehicles of expression. Okay?
Yes.
But that we are not those vehicles. We're the driver.
Yes.
Okay? We're the driver. And the driver has fun. Okay. The driver does have fun. The driver does have fun. And I think with that kind of imagery, for me, it frees up then being caught in thinking I am the vehicle.
Mm-hmm. I think the driver has a lot more fun when the driver knows how to skillfully use its tools. And this whole element, like, why do we get to know how we feel? Why do we get to know what we need? Why do we figure out how to communicate this? Why do we recognize that we're not our mind and then put it in a very useful place as a tool? This is very much similar to the analogy of becoming a very skillful driver of your very high-end sports car. You know, if I get in a car like that and I don't have the skills, it's not that fun.
No.
It's not nearly as much fun as the person who knows how to drive that car.
Right. And you need a knowledge of your vehicle. Okay? Yeah. You need to know what it needs, how it works, what happens in this situation, what happens in that situation. And it's a feedback.
Yes.
It's something you said before, but it's coming back to me more and more and more, that these are opportunities to give feedback, get and give, okay? And then for what purpose is, I think it's about giving in life.
Yes. The more skillfully we inhabit this form that we have, skillfully almost sounds like there's a good and bad. I don't think that there is. It's just, again, that invitation to really embody this form that we have with whatever limitations it has, with whatever strengths it has. Really getting to know it lets us play in this life, lets us be these joy-filled, I'm using carefully, really like joy as a life expression, not necessarily as an emotion, but it lets us express with more ease what life is expressing through us no matter what. But again, it's like, are we going to be able to do that from that place of, oh, I know how to drive this car, I've got this skill, or am I sort of always struggling and trying to figure it out?
Right.
Yeah. Well, we again have easily chatted for an hour, so there is so much more we could talk about on this topic, and I would love to hear from you as listeners. If particular questions have come up for you, if you would like us to delve into any of these areas in more depth, or stories or experiences or exercises or anything else that comes to you, please let us know. And Christine, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you, friends and listeners, for joining Christine and I today in this conversation. It is truly a joy to be bringing this podcast forward, and I do look forward to your questions, your feedback, your suggestions. We'd love to bring your questions into future podcasts and allow this to be a community conversation. Each week, you can find new episodes of Life in Form on my website, amychadwicknd.com, and you can reach me with those questions via the website or via Instagram at amychadwicknd. If you hear something here that resonates with you or that delights you and you're inspired to share with friends or family, I would be deeply honored by that. Thank you again, and may you stay curious, listen intently, honor your unique being, dance and play and laugh and hug the ones you love, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, be impeccably you and be well.